Am I really going to discuss Naruto again? Again? Oh well, what the hell, my channel got to this point because of Naruto. So yeah, wait, it's recording. Okay, so Sasuke Uchiha, cool guy, right? Emo, withdrawn, antisocial, and insanely strong. One can only get goosebumps seeing him take down a meteor in the movie Naruto The Last. But while he may be strong, Sasuke is one of those Naruto characters that on the surface doesn't look too complex. However, when you get down to it, you tend to realize that he still has layers in his personality that make his character stand out. He's someone who's more than an overpowered Uchiha with a hunger for power. He is broken in his own unique way. His character arc is that of someone who is troubled and has drawn walls around him that are hard to break. He's been there all this time, but it's only until the very end of Naruto and in Boruto that we get to see Sasuke let go of his former attitude to becoming a different person. This is where I bring in Shikamaru, who went through a serious change when he saw Asuma Sarutobi die because of Hidan. There was a change in his attitude which was built down upon in a bit too subtle of a manner when he took over the reins of being the Hokage's right-hand man later in the series. Sasuke, for the most part, didn't go through that change in the remainder of Naruto, no fault of his own since he was being consistently lied to. Nevertheless, the evolution that did take place in Sasuke's character arc from the end of Naruto to Boruto is indeed worth talking about. In this video, I will delineate this change with the concept of coming of age and how that concept applies to Sasuke's previous and current persona. So let's begin. Sasuke's personality takes on a variety of different turns. As a child, he was a happy-go-lucky lad, eager to please his family, his clan, and most importantly, his older brother. The latter is the most important in this discussion since Itachi Uchiha was the person whom Sasuke was the closest to. This devotion to Itachi is so much that it elicited strong responses from an otherwise calm and collected Sasuke. The devotion too is an important factor in how Sasuke became the way he did during the major part of the series. As a child, he would start crying if he was held by anyone besides Itachi. This deep-seated love, however, came to an end when Itachi caused the Uchiha clan massacre. Itachi, for his part, not only managed to wipe out the entire clan, but hit the final nail on the coffin that was Sasuke's psyche by saying that he never even loved him. Fueled by hatred of Itachi, which was encouraged by the latter, Sasuke moves on with life with a spiteful worldview. Until the point he gets vengeance from Itachi, he has no other goals and would go at any length to further his goals of expanding his powers. However, that accumulation of power is not through the instructions of Itachi, who tells him to gain the powers of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Instead, he takes a different route by utilizing the powers of Orochimaru to his advantage. With a power-hungry mindset, Sasuke went out to the world, not caring about anyone, only focusing on his own goals of furthering his strength. This was something that caused him to become distant from other people. The isolation would continue even further. But here is where the young Sasuke goes through a shift in personality, albeit for a time. His inclusion into Team 7 has an effect on Sasuke that makes him appreciate camaraderie. When he first entered into Team 7, he wasn't too interested in forming any such bonds and relationships. He even disregarded Naruto and Sakura for being too weak and constantly found flaws within Kakashi's notion of teamwork. This total disregard for his team members would prove to be wrong. In the Land of Waves arc, Sasuke was able to perform with the help of Naruto. He wouldn't have done so otherwise. This change in personality wasn't just limited to him having accomplished missions with the help of teamwork. In fact, after being consumed with vengeance for so many years, developing the camaraderie with Team 7 gave him a measure of happiness that he was subconsciously craving for. So now we've established Sasuke's evolution from being a happy child to one who was utterly betrayed by the person he loved the most, becoming withdrawn, and then finding some camaraderie within Team 7. These form the foundation stones of the changes Sasuke Uchiha would experience throughout the series. But the camaraderie that he managed to develop was to be short-lived, since at the core of it all, Sasuke was rooted in his philosophy of vengeance. Meeting Itachi again in part 1 cemented that very fact and made sure that there was no turning back from that. The effects of meeting Itachi again caused Sasuke to utilize the curse of Orochimaru. He leaves the village to pursue his goals. While there were attempts to bring him back, Sasuke's motivation to keep on pursuing his ambitions was to become his demise. He was able to persuade Orochimaru to train him, but left on his own accord, turning away from Orochimaru to form his own team. With Taka, he was able to gain a camaraderie that was similar to what he had with Team 7 in terms of the level of teamwork required. The revelation of Itachi being the good guy wasn't something that Sasuke took with open arms. It was a confusing scenario where Sasuke learned that all that he knew about Itachi had been a lie. It was a stressful moment for him which caused Itachi to move further into the depths of despair and darkness. This was exhibited in the perfect manner during the 5 Kage Summit arc where Sasuke would go all out against anyone who came his way. His goal was to restore the glory of his clan and take revenge against any and all who came to stop him. Essentially, he became someone who could not be saved. After his encounter with the reincarnated Itachi, Sasuke finds out the entire story of why Itachi did what he did. The latter failed in his attempts, which was very painful to him to experience as well. When finding out the full story, Sasuke, again doesn't know which path to take, so he decides to become a Hokage. Not just a Hokage, but a true Hokage. Someone who doesn't shy away from doing the killing and ensuring that there are no conflicts in the world of shinobi. Again, a mistrust of the world shows up within Sasuke, where under a sense of isolation from the world, he decides to play it alone and save the world by his lonesome, only to be stopped in his footsteps by Naruto, who values the bond he has with his friend instead of saving the world. Post-Shinobi World War, we see a different Sasuke, someone who has calmed down a lot, gained perspective in life, and has been essentially saved through the efforts of Naruto Uzumaki. While he still hasn't lost his touch of introversion, he has been reformed, becoming a man who holds on to the values of Itachi Uchiha, a person who he has admired since forever. On top of that, he now has a wife and kid, both of whom he loves dearly, even though he doesn't know how to show it. Now, Sasuke is an interesting case to study. An individual who was growing up in fairly normal circumstances, Sasuke went through one of the most traumatic experiences a child can go through. Not only did he see his family get killed, the killer himself was someone whom Sasuke held dear to him. All we need to do to relate to Sasuke is place ourselves in his shoes at that time, and you will see what kind of effect such a betrayal and loss can have on one's psychological state. No disrespect to Itachi, but what he made Sasuke go through is child abuse. The result of witnessing the Uchiha clan massacre left Sasuke in a state of disillusion from the world, where he did not trust anyone and had the only overarching goal of killing Itachi. You could say that we're in the world of shinobi, but a child speaking such words aren't just for nothing. Sasuke goes through an evolution when he finally finds camaraderie, which tones down his vengeful nature and causes him to become a bit mellower. However, when witnessing his own weakness at the hands of Itachi after meeting him again, Sasuke goes down a dark hole that was dug for him by Itachi. The important thing to note is that throughout this time he wasn't living his life. His life was being dictated by Itachi, who, though he wanted the best for him, still made mistakes when it came to Sasuke. If I were to draw up another analogy for Sasuke and how he plunged himself into a hole of darkness, I would discuss how drug addicts go back to their ways if proper reinforcement isn't provided. Such was the case for Sasuke. Team 7 was the positive reinforcement that he very much needed, but the negativity around his life and circumstances was so much so that he went back to his darkness and eventually succumbed to it. In his defense, he wasn't able to process things in a rational manner since he was still a child. This is where Kakashi comes in, who tried his best to convince him to come back and that his ways weren't right. However, the sound for Orochimaru's curse, coupled with Naruto's growth as a shinobi, which did play a part in making Sasuke feel insecure, considering how he was surprised at seeing him fight with Gamabunta against Shikaku, made Sasuke into a power-hungry maniac. This doesn't mean that Naruto was wrong. He was fighting his own fight. Sasuke wasn't wrong either in feeling jealous, since at the core of it all, Sasuke grew up seeing circumstances where he felt vulnerable and only if he had power he could fix all the trauma that he suffered. In the previous section, I talked about how he wanted to become the true Hokage. While circumstances were different when he said that, he knew the truth. It's worth noting that this did come from somewhere, regardless of how many times we laugh at his declaration. It's the same mindset that if I had enough power, I could become the Hokage and fix everything by myself. Speaking of truths and revelation, after Itachi's death, Sasuke went through another change in psyche. Learning a half-truth about Konoha and Itachi, he went even more overboard in his actions. It wasn't until after he had learned the complete picture of Itachi's actions that he realized what he needed to do. When he finally let down his guard a little bit, he was able to realize how far Naruto had gone for him and how much he tried to reach out to him. When he had finally gained perspective, he realized the error of his ways and decided to mend it, though in his own fashion. The Sasuke Uchiha that we see today isn't just an awkward emo. He's a man who has spent the reformative part of his life constantly suffering from traumatic experiences and being lied to. His is a character arc that's worth appreciating, and while it may be one-dimensional from the outset, upon further probing, he is indeed a complex character. I'm not too good in conclusions, but if you like this video, be sure to show your support, and again, thanks for watching.